Hello and welcome back to another episode of Boys Gone Wild. As I'm joined by as ever. It's hot.
It's getting hotter.
Feels like we're doing this podcast in a toaster oven.
Well, it's hotter than bloody put in a name of a hot country.
Jamaica.
It's
hotter than
Jamaica. It's hotter than Jamaica.
I don't think it's even that hot. I think it's like 23 degrees.
I never get that jazzed up when someone says it's hotter than Barbados or it's hotter than, because I'm like, yeah, well, that's just probably a coincidence that it's colder there.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, we now live in Barbados. That's not how that fucking works. Yeah. It's just because of how weather fronts work, and I won't bore you with how weather fronts work because I don't know how they work. But I could if I wanted to.
Yeah.
High pressure, low pressure.
Yeah.
Drop the pressure.
It's hotter than Sahara.
It's hotter than the Sahara. Well, then, no, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
We don't now live in the Sahara.
Yeah. What's the point? Yeah. What's the point? If it was like, I guess if it's climate change, saying it's now.
It's not though, is it?
The annual temperature is hotter.
Yeah. That's
fine.
Fair enough. But if it's like, for one day it's hotter than Barbados, that's not a fact for me.
I completely agree.
If we were the hottest country briefly for a day in the world, I'll lap it up.
But I guess also the problem with British weather, and we're probably at fault of this on this podcast, is because because of the way that we have 4 very distinct seasons. Everyone does seem to be completely blindsided whenever a season comes.
It's true.
It hits like a ton of bricks. Well, even autumn leaves, as subtle as that. Spring blossom, summer. It is like, wow, who would have thought?
Do we have one of the most strongly defined seasons in the world?
I'd say up there in that belt.
You're our seasons correspondent.
I would say you'd probably look at the east coast of America.
Sure.
You've seen those like pictures
east coast
of like the really autumny
New York
forests. Yeah, I get they're pretty distinctive ones. I'd say.
They are
around there. I'd look at Patagonia.
Getting bored already, so ease yourself in a little bit there.
Yeah, I'd say so.
You'd say so, yeah. Well, I mean, the effects are devastating.
Yeah.
I think particularly because this is summer weather in, where are we now? Spring. But, you get the sunshine. I sit out on my balcony. I have lunch on my balcony. And then the next day, it's grey.
Yeah.
I think that's worse for my general health and well-being than if we were, because at least I was used to the bad weather. Right. Now I'm getting sprinklings of joy. And then it's grey the next day. And I'm like, contrast. Why am I sad again?
I think a problem I definitely find is I don't want to have to enjoy every sunny day.
No.
And you want a consistent, it's like that feeling on holiday when tomorrow's going to be nice.
Yeah.
And that feeling of not knowing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You're not knowing what your mood's going to be, but also the sunny weather is annoying because sometimes I don't want to leave the house.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes on a Sunday, I want to sit in and I want to watch a good old-fashioned box set.
But you do have the winter for that.
I know, but now...
But the problem is that they're forcing you to be a certain way.
For now, I'm going from fucking, what are we? March? April?
Yeah.
May? We're May, aren't we?
We're May, yeah.
March is a crazy suggestion.
I was just saying,
We're in May now. That's like the fucking rest of the year. We're all jazzed up and out frolicking.
I don't think we are.
Are you not?
No, we're not jazzed up frolicking for the rest of the year. Because it starts coming back in October. We got 3 shit months.
Yeah, but so for the rest of it, until summer, Yeah. Yeah, but this is I think it's a lot to deal with, and there's too much change. I think I'd like a gradual move into some nice weather rather than
there's also
this.
Apparently, so obviously everyone talks about climate change and how things are going to get hotter here, right?
Yeah.
So that'd be nice.
What a bit hotter.
Yeah,
wouldn't mind that.
But then there's also counter narratives. This is why I don't know who to believe, that potentially the Gulf Stream is going to get turned off. Right. So do you know what the Gulf Stream is? It's like the hot air or hot water that hits our coast, and that's kind of where all of our temperature comes from.
So we might get colder in climate change.
Yeah.
Fucking typical Britain, isn't it? Starmer's Britain. Even in climate change, we can't get fucking warmer.
What do you think of Starmer's speech on immigration?
Well, I've been having ham and cheese for lunch again.
Right.
Now, long-time listeners of the pod will know that that's a big deal, and I've been quite...
I mean, Starmer looks like ham and cheese, sort of.
He does.
He's the embodiment of... He looks like a ham and cheese.
A poorly melted toasty.
Right, yeah.
No, long-time listeners of the podcast will know that I have strong feelings about ham and cheese and have gone as far to say that everyone who lives in this country should have ham and cheese for lunch and nothing else.
It's one of your more right-wing opinions.
It's one of my very right-wing opinions. But that happened. I said that, and almost moments later, it felt like I then stopped having ham and cheese sandwiches for lunch because I was like, maybe I should not have ham and cheese sandwiches every day for lunch.
When it's two processed things.
It's two processed things.
Processed bread.
Often in processed bread.
So that's,
It's not exactly good for your energy or your general health.
It's a terrible way to
way to live. However, I'm back on them.
Really?
Well, it's by a happy accident. To be honest, I fancy some cheese.
And ham happens to be.
And ham happens to be a good accompaniment for all that. So sewer guy.
Yeah.
But so I'll be back on the ham and cheese, and it happened at the same time that Keir Starmer has announced that people need to come in and understand the culture of England a bit more. Now, I think I had the ham and cheese before he said this.
Okay.
So I think maybe he saw me having the ham and cheese and was like, this is Britain.
This is Britain.
And it reminded him of...
So you going back on the ham and cheese has caused the country to lurch to the right?
Quite significantly. It's changed our immigration policy vastly.
Yeah.
So, because
But are you kind of like, are you seen as the ideal British man?
Yeah.
Is that what you think? Yeah.
I think I'd lost my Britishness for a few months when I was having prawns for lunch.
Yeah. You didn't realise, you were pretending to be something you weren't.
What, is this the coast of Spain?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Have cheddar cheese.
So you felt
and wafer thin ham.
Yeah.
So I thought, I think I was an inspiration for this.
Old Dry Keith.
Old Dry Keith.
A real patriot abroad.
Just the shock at the sandwich. How do those guys fucking live like that? But so I've been listening to a lot of LBC debates.
Oh yeah? You're back in your dad shit.
Back in my dad shit. Someone was
You're back.
Yeah, ham and cheese, LBC.
LBC, you're fucking back.
Look, sometimes I'm eating ham and cheese.
You do live like a taxi driver sometimes. Even though you don't leave your house, you do just live like a taxi.
So I live like a sadder.
With no one to talk about. And then you come on here and talk about politics as opposed to your...
It's a lot more... If you can actually trace where the podcast has gone, it's a lot more the fun I have on weekends and the mishaps I get into. More like economic policies that I've been hearing debates on LBC and ham and cheese. But
I don't think you're far off one of those massage bead assortments for your chair. You know
what?
Taxi drivers often in foreign countries, they have like massage beads on their chairs. For some reason, when you see one of those, you know that he's going to have some very problematic,
some interesting views. But they don't look comfy to me.
No. But is that part of it?
I'm not trying to be racist.
Is it racist?
I think that's a racist thing to say.
I don't know.
What are they up to?
In Starmer's New Britain, I don't think that is racist.
No such thing as racism anymore. Say what I want. Get out of the bloody country.
Yeah.
I think. But they were trying to ask about. There was a debate on LBC about someone's calling into James O'Brien and he's whinging. Well, who's the bigger whinger?
Yeah.
And then he was saying I think it's absolutely fair if people have to assimilate to British culture when they come over here.
O'Brien?
No, someone else.
Right.
Brian's like, well, what is British culture?
Right.
How would you answer that question? What is British culture?
It's a good question. I would say...
the answer is right before us.
What, ham and cheese sandwich?
Ham and cheese sandwich.
Yeah, how could you... It's a tough one, because the problem that... Because there was an attempt to define British culture during the kind of the height of wokeness, right? Because you still need to have some melding of a national identity.
Yeah.
But they kept choosing tolerance and diversity, which is like a nice idea.
Sure.
But it doesn't really work.
Doesn't pay the bills.
It doesn't pay the bills.
It doesn't get me out on the weekend. Doesn't make me want to leave my house.
But it's more like...
And nor is it true.
I
know plenty. The majority of people I know who are above the age of 40 wouldn't give you that answer.
Yeah, but also it's not like an identity because it's more like letting other people have their culture.
That's essentially what it is, yeah.
And then it doesn't... Suddenly,
and then therefore there is the absence of culture.
It's nothing. It's just a...
The answer is...
So you have to choose a couple of things and then really... They don't have to be good.
They don't have to be.
They just need to be unique.
Just give something to them. Give something to the poor old chaps. They're trying their best.
This is why white bond. Don't just think. You give them a couple of things.
Give them. There's a couple of things that are sacrosanct to the people. We all know the people we're talking about.
And I just think if you do that, you won't get Premier Inn's burnt down.
It's true.
Yeah.
But the only problem with that is that a significant part of their identity is chicken tikka masala.
Well, that's an interesting one.
And the Indian takeaway and the Chinese takeaway. Now
that's successful integration.
It is.
Well, as we
we
said, curry. We get curry as a fair swap for cricket.
Yes.
That's a completely fair swap.
That's fair.
That's like, I think they should stop bringing up curry because of cricket. That's like a 1-for-1.
Yeah, that's fair. But the problem is with the guys who are the guys who are trying to say that British culture is a thing, or they need something to grab onto in British culture, is that they need to say the word curry, but they can't, because the reality is what British
need to say curry.
These guys, they do, because what it is pubs Chinese and Indian takeaways.
Yeah, but do you not think there's a bit of a falsity when people equate culture fully with food? Now, admittedly, we're one of the least foodie cultures. Like our identity is the least tied probably to food.
Yeah.
Of other ones, that's probably most of Northern Europe. Like the Swedish aren't like, we're fucking meatballs till we die. That's just not.
No, they're not. Yeah.
It's flat pack furniture.
It's
a welfare state.
It's IKEA, is what you're saying. It's let me name all the things that are in an IKEA, and that will do for Sweden. Yeah, meatballs and chairs.
Yeah, there's a bit of an over egg sometimes of the
Pun
importance of
eggs are food.
Yeah, and it's also interesting how in the most racist pubs they love a Spanish beer. You've got to have a Spanish beer in there.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it's because we've got it from all the different, the colonies and stuff. It's all come over and now we claimed it as our own and whatever. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to solve right now is what is the answer to British culture for the guys that we know we're talking about? Well, it's the Burgess Hill bald men is who we're really speaking about.
For them.
So what is it?
Because I think about this quite a lot. And it's also like, I feel there's a job of some of the more creative elites who maybe shun British culture.
Yeah.
They might need to...
Name a name.
Greg James.
Greg James, a British cultural elite. Greg James, get your act together, Greg. Address the common people.
But maybe it's the job of the creative classes. Commode. Sure, but the creative classes, maybe it's their job to innovate and create the culture that can be embodied by the Burgess Hill bald man.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Because the Burgess Hill bald man is not going to create culture for himself.
Hey,
he'll go see a musical theatre,
but under duress from his wife. The Burgess Hill woman does not go up. Yeah. He tracks up to London every few months to appease his wife, who he very rarely sees because he's already at the pub with his mates. So, what
are the pub? Obviously the pub.
But then people don't want to say that.
They do want to say that. The pub's the obvious first thing.
It is.
Yeah. Cricket on a village green overlooking a church, like a little village church. These are the images that, come across. Small sandwiches, Pims. Right?
Yeah.
That's British summertime.
Yeah, but cricket is immediately a class thing.
That's one part of it, yeah. But also, I think a big problem is, sport. I think because a lot of people maybe disparage it, but a lot of British cultural identity has been exported so much that it's just faded into other people's things.
Go on.
For example, if football was just a folk game that was played here, that would be a very British thing.
Well, maybe we need to
retreat. It's the biggest thing ever, and we're not the best at it.
It's true.
And it's the same with all sport culture. It's like we have like a lot of these games that have come out of British culture, and they have the codification as a British cultural identity to them. But they've been so exported, and we were so clearly not the best at any of them.
It's tough to share.
It was tough to say that's what we are when we're just getting battered.
Yeah.
Regularly.
Yeah, because no one wants to hear that we made it anymore. Yeah. Like, who cares? That's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should bring it back to like the pub games, like Toads.
But also, so British music culture.
Yeah.
Pop music, there's no better country per capita for pop music. That's a part of the identity, going to see live music. I was touring in Manchester. That's a huge part of that part of the world's identity.
Yeah.
But because it's pop music, it's about innovation and change, right? It's about, I don't know, being at a cutting edge.
Pop music?
Yeah, well,
maybe.
Current culture, I guess. Rock music, pop music, you name it.
I wouldn't necessarily call pop innovative.
What music is innovative then? It's like, it's the newest. It's the newest stuff.
New doesn't equal innovative. I could release a song.
Cutting edge.
I could release a song right now.
That's a value judgment. I mean, it's more like what's at the forefront of
fine
culture. If Dua Lipa's being played around the world, that's still that's defining 2020.
Agreed. Yes. So innovative in a different way rather than necessarily pushing music forward.
But then you would say you see like a flamenco guitarist in Spain, right?
Yeah.
It's not blowing up the charts, flamenco. Do you know what I mean? But it's a folk cultural thing. It's not.
I think what we're saying is we don't want to share. You don't want to. We're trying to make something.
Some things
we need less success.
You need some things you don't share.
Yeah.
And so it's like, for example, Morris dancing sucks.
Or the maypole.
Yeah. Yeah, that sucks.
No one really does Mayday like us.
Yeah, but we need to make more stuff like that. Because as good as the music is, and it's great to have that sort of things, you can't say what's British culture listening to Dua Lipa.
No,
Do you know
you
what I mean?
can't.
It needs to be
because
more...
everyone does. The world does.
And
it can't be Oasis because everyone listens to it.
Oasis more so,
But still.
but it's also two blokes
Yeah.
who will die and also might say some things on a podcast.
Yeah.
And might you can't tie it to living people.
No.
It has to be a vibe. Flamenco dancing, I don't know any flamenco dancers.
I don't.
But if I saw it in Spain, I'd be like, that's fucking Spanish.
That's Spanish as fuck. Whereas we can't go to a Coldplay gig and be like, that's English.
No,
It's
of course not. Their whole thing is like, we are with the aliens and we are one universe.
Can you just be for Britain, please?
Yeah.
What we need is a few big artists to just play in England.
I agree. I think there needs to just be more cultural specificity. And it's not about... I think the key thing, I think, with answering this question that people struggle with is it's the fear that people have with a British identity is because of the history of British supremacism, right? And the colonial history, which is during colonial times, it was like Britain is the best culture, and therefore it should undermine other people's. You just have to view it differently. It's about specificity. It's not about the best. It's just about being from somewhere. It doesn't have to be best. It just has to be distinct.
Just distinct.
That's been my big thing for the whole time. Everyone's scared about all these different things with the country. I'm scared about it becoming like a shopping, like a non-place. We talked about this.
Yeah.
Like if you go to a shopping centre anywhere in the world, they all look the same.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't.
That's where we're headed.
It doesn't have to be the best. It just has to be unique, right?
Yeah. No, I agree.
That's why folk culture is so important. That's why tradition is so important. That's why people getting into pagan shit, I'm like here for it. I maybe want them to lead the charge and
so you think Britain should go back to a more pagan way of doing things?
People have often there's a lot of pagan revival often comes back. I think the Burgess Hill bald man, he might be quite...
I think he might be put off by some of the rituals.
And I guess it is probably more middle class kind of hippy dippy stuff, but it's there.
It's there, yeah.
Because the Christian stuff that also doesn't feel very unique.
No, of course it's not.
That's quite a globalizing thing. So if you're like, what about I dress up as a big oak tree, right?
That feels English immediately.
There's something more there.
Oak trees feel English.
A badger.
That's English.
Do you know what I mean? So this is how, annoyingly,
ferocious animals.
This is a process that should take thousands of years, and I don't know if we can work it all out.
Well, I think we did it and then gave it to too many people.
Yeah.
And now, because we're embarrassed about that, when I say gave it, you know, kind of fucked people with it. Right. And now because we're embarrassed about that, we're trying to diminish the importance of it for us.
I think it just
and then we're fucked.
You need to give people clear ways that they don't have to innovate for themselves. They can just easily slip into cultural things.
It's pretty easy to slip into a Morris dance.
But if I was in Spain, I would just a flamenco dance. I'd get it. I'd just be Spanish.
Yeah. It's true.
And you go to a lot of European countries, and this is what my point is. When you visit, it shouldn't be like an unexclusive thing. When I'm visiting a country, I want them to be like that place.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I want the most Italian men to be at it.
Oh, absolutely.
When you're in Italy, you're like, that's brilliant.
Cup of feel.
Yeah. To be honest, when I'm in Mexico, if I saw people in sombreros, brilliant. Brilliant.
Rice paddies in Vietnam.
Yeah, brilliant.
I'm sorry.
That's
come on.
how I thought it would be.
No, I didn't. Well,
and that's satisfying.
I travelled here to see the country. I didn't come here to see fucking nothing.
Yeah, so what hats do we have?
We have the bowler hat.
We had the bowler hat.
We get the bowler. Maybe we all start wearing fucking suits all the time.
Yeah, well, that's a big thing. The suit was invented here.
Like, I think we should live
So
life.
that's another thing. So the innovation of men's fashion in the 17 and 1800s, that kind of, it was France and Britain, but men's tailoring probably has no more venerable history than here.
Let's just wear suits.
Savile Row, the suit was invented here.
Umbrellas.
The ties are French, but
big black umbrellas.
Yeah.
Big black umbrellas. And nice tailored suits.
It doesn't have to be the best. It just needs to be from somewhere. But the problem is, everyone wears suits. Do you know what I mean?
It's true, but they don't.
Because even if you look at
casually.
And this is something that I also think. I think less people should wear suits, and they should give it back to us. So look, G20 summit.
Maybe we can ask for 5 things back.
Yeah,
Dua Lipa, suits.
Maybe I think Dua Lipa is taking up a big spot there.
Look, we've got to be somewhat demanding.
No, they can keep Dua Lipa.
I don't think
Dua Lipa's for the people. I don't
think Dua Lipa's transcended into this kind of fucking godlike figure that we can't claw back. I don't really want Dua Lipa back. I'm not the biggest
that's what I mean.
fan. But me personally, but I think the crowd would like it.
Yeah. I think suits, to be honest.
Suits?
Cricket.
We can't take cricket back. That's you can't take.
Okay.
You want to go and tell the people, those kids in India who are growing up in the slums and they just want to be a fast bowler. You're not allowed to bowl anymore.
Right, fair enough. I think Okay, here's my
Suits,
vision.
yes.
Here's my vision with suits. When you see a G20 World Summit,
Yeah.
right, they're all wearing suits.
Sure.
There's a kind of
Only the British person can wear it.
yeah, but it's more like you
And
wear
then
your-
everyone has to wear what's culturally significant to them. The
Should-
Italian?
The Italian, well, they have a history of suit.
They do Armani.
But they've got a different suit. They wear a linen breathy suit. So the Italian,
They could be like sunglasses, open collar suit, a linen beige with a white shirt. We'll be in a three-piece, tie clip, tailored correctly. The
Spanish probably. Well, they probably should have. It's not maracas.
Now, would a maraca undermine your opinion when talking about nuclear disarmament?
Yeah, I guess you don't want something that's too silly.
We can't undermine.
Well, I want the Mexican to be in a sombrero. So is that too silly?
I don't think a sombrero is silly.
I don't think so.
I think it's a practical.
I think a nacho sombrero is silly.
Hey, some of these meetings go on for a while. I'm not gonna turn my nose up at the Mexicans if they want to chuck some cheese and chips in their hats.
So Americans should be dressed up with entire American flag suit, like a really loud.
Yeah.
Even if it's got like a monster truck with flames coming out of it, that feels more.
Yeah, or like to be or if we're gonna, because I don't want it to be that we're doing the worst of every country.
Right.
So Americans.
No, but that's America. That's America doing them.
Yeah, but America should wear jeans,
right,
and a white t-shirt,
and they could take jeans back.
They could take jeans back.
Oh, that's a good. Yeah. That's a trade.
I think we let every globalization's been great, but let's let every country take 5 things back each. Americans can take like jeans. Well, Americans have a lot back, but be respectful with it. Don't take all the best stuff. Just take some stuff that you think.
You can take one that really fucks things up, but
Yeah, one
like jeans.
Like jeans would be a fucking nightmare. You can't wear jeans anymore.
But I don't know why jeans became the default trouser. It's quite an odd default trouser. They're blue. Do you know what I mean?
They're
light
blue.
It's like for the default. It's quite a light blue is quite like a
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We're so used to it. Yeah.
They've just been synonymous with cool forever. They're timeless, is what they are. The look is timeless. Like jeans. That's the interesting thing because jeans are always in style. It's just what variation of them are in.
Yeah.
But whereas chinos, they're in and out.
It's
smart suit trousers, they're in and out.
Chinos were in
cargo
in the
stuff.
early 2010s. Have they come back in since?
No. I'm sorry, they haven't.
We was waiting for chinos to come back.
And we're talking about beige chinos here.
Yeah.
Because
they're too synonymous.
People are too vague with their definition of a chino. And it irks me.
Yeah.
We're talking about like the beige. We all know what a fucking chino is. I know it when I see it. They're out. They haven't been back for a while.
Yeah.
But
they're seen as too posh chinos. So they'd need a bold person to.
It's the estate agent from Sussex. It's the beige chinos, the black shoes, and the tucked in white stiff collar shirt.
Yeah,
and they wear that because that's what happens to young men.
Do you know what else?
As we've seen happen to a young man we know is that they end up coming. That's their workwear because it might be a bit warm and they're doing lots of viewings that day, and then they go to the pub wearing that, and then all of a sudden. The worlds have collided. They don't realise the difference and they're wearing it on the weekend.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of Brighton is. Going out in Brighton is tough because that's what everyone's wearing.
There's a lot of misconceptions about Brighton.
There are.
Because Brighton, it's seen as this very gay liberal capital. It is, but we grew up on the outskirts of Brighton. We know what the people who go into tan.
Into tan.
It's tan. They don't live in tan. They go into tan.
They go into tan. And therefore, on a Friday night, tan is basically like fucking A with Eve. There are some not pleasant gentlemen.
Gigging in Brighton, you always think, this is going to be a liberal audience.
No.
It's just a lot of Burgess Hill
You're
bald men
expecting piercing and dreadlocks. You've got brogues and chinos. And we know exactly the men we're talking about.
They got the train into tan.
They got the train into town. They've had a few tinnies. And they're ready to hit Trash Mondays.
Now, here's a big...
They're far too old for the clubs that they're going to.
Something that we could maybe take back as well.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one, actually. We could take back sandwiches, right? Because a sandwich...
I wouldn't want to do that.
Why not? Too cruel.
Too cruel. Come on.
The Earl of Sandwich created the sandwich.
Yep.
Is when he was gambling.
Earl Sandwich.
Earl Sandwich. Dr. Sandwich himself.
Yeah.
The story is he was gambling, right? And because he would spend so long at the table, he wanted an easy way to eat a meal so that he could keep himself sustained. So he'd just he'd have a handful of bread and grab some meat and just eat that.
Oh, it's like he's making the sandwich as he eats it. Yeah, very good, very good.
That's kind of, but it was invented here. But the problem is, as much as sandwich, you have a ham and cheese sandwich every day.
Thank you. I don't.
We're not very good at making sandwiches here.
It doesn't matter.
That's what I mean. It's more like, I know pretty much everyone's better at making sandwiches.
Yeah.
But pretty much anyone who gives it a go. Vietnam, a banh mi.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, pretty good.
You know,
a sloppy Joe.
Yeah, a subculture. Fair enough, but you can't have
like a tostado. I mean, a croque monsieur.
An Italian sandwich, right?
Yeah.
They're all better.
They're all better, but that doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
You didn't make it. You can't have it.
Because it's like an egg and croissant.
Fuck it. We're taking back sandwiches. We're ruining sandwiches to the world. And also...
Yeah, we're doing it out of spite, that one.
Doing it out of spite. You can have one out of spite. You can have one out of spite. So
this is all from Starmer's speech. We're now reneging entirely on globalization.
We're just trying to work out... We're trying to work out how to balance the books a bit here.
Yeah.
Because I think what we're saying is if we did this policy, then there wouldn't be a need for tougher immigration policies. That's essentially
because you'd come here and you'd eat your sandwiches.
We're appeasing the people that are frustrated by immigration.
That's what we're doing. Of an appeasement.
We're saying we're going to let some people in, okay, but you can have your sandwich back.
Right.
Here you go. We've got the suits back for you. That'll be more like...
That's what I mean. Sometimes this is what people miss when they're trying to deal with the kind of right-wing surge of this country. Give them a couple of bones to chew on.
We're playing...
Bond. Tell them right now, always going to be a white bloke. It's for you, lads.
We're playing a very dangerous game, though.
What do you mean?
Because our country could be ripped bare by all of the other world's five choices.
When they start taking their stuff away?
They start taking their stuff back, then Britain is fucked. If India take the curry away...
Yeah. Yeah, but then we would have to. It's mutually assured destruction. We're taking cricket back.
I think that what we
that's
it would be like a negotiation.
It's like a trade deal.
Oh yeah, if India take that's good. If you're taking curry, we've got fucking cricket. If Italians take pasta,
what are we doing? What we got for them?
Well, maybe we could argue that suits were invented in England,
I guess
that
so.
you've then perfected them.
Yeah,
but there's got to be other shit.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
We've actually got a lot of bargaining chips, mostly because of music, football.
Yeah. Could take football away.
You could take football away. We've actually got quite a strong position here.
Yeah.
But if the world get together, we'd be really fucked.
It would be an interesting conference. Everyone.
It would.
It would be like a bid to end globalization, really.
Yeah.
You're all allowed 5 things back.
Well, we're having fucking sandwiches back. All right? And then we wouldn't let any of the lovely variant
Who enforces
sandwiches.
it? Is it like UN peacekeepers? No, I mean, what ground units?
Ground units?
Well, to stop sandwich shops, to smash up sandwich shops in other countries.
It would have to be UN peacekeepers.
Yeah, so I'm imagining UN peacekeepers.
We need boots on the ground.
Yeah, obviously, but it needs to be an international body who we can trust and we can try and get away from corruption.
Can we trust the UN?
Probably not, but this is the best we've got.
They're the best we've got.
Have you got any idea? Do you want the US to cash roll it? No, because they're going to want something for themselves.
Private mercenaries.
What, like the Wagner Group?
Like the Wagner Group. I think maybe the Wagner Group enforces Italy not being able to have sandwiches anymore.
Rules are rules.
Rules are rules, and we need boots on the ground in order to enforce them because people aren't going to be true to these rules. What do you mean I can't have a sandwich? Because of global peace, Manfredo. I'll shut the fuck up and have some pasta. You've got plenty of shit over here. Do you really need a fucking sandwich? I reckon no, but the problem is.
Do you know what Germans could probably?
No, because
they couldn't do beer. They could do lager. Germans invented lager.
We're losing saunas. Because
Finland do definitely take.
Of course they're taking saunas. What else have they got to take? The problem is that's the problem when a country's only known for one thing.
They're definitely taking
it because they've got no other options.
Yeah, because I was thinking that you can make a cut a deal between a couple of countries where it's like, right, you can keep football.
Maybe that's how we do it. It shouldn't just be a blanket. But then the problem is
everyone is going to make those deals.
Yeah, it's going to look.
Do you know who's going to get fucked? Western Sahara. Do you know that country?
No.
It's just a country.
Yeah.
I don't know who lives there.
Right.
I've never met anyone from Western Sahara. I always see it on a map. It's just below Morocco.
Yeah.
If you're from Western Sahara, it's just coming from someone who stares at a map all day.
It's embarrassing. The other day we needed to look something up on Google Earth, and the speed at which he does it is just it's pathetic.
Yeah, I would be fascinated to meet anyone from Western Sahara. I want to know what's going on there.
Yeah, you're not gonna.
So yeah, south of Morocco. I don't know what they're offering Western Sahara.
Well, you're not necessarily fucked.
What have they got on the negotiating table?
I think we're gonna have to do a tier system of the amount you have to offer. Maybe you don't. If you've got 5 things to take away, then you are at the top of the thing, top of the list. So then this is like tariffs, isn't it? It's the opposite.
It's very similar.
It's kind of the opposite of tariffs. You're bringing stuff back.
Yeah.
Anyway, basically, I think there's a kind of multifaceted system we can create where it isn't just everyone loses all of them. There's deals cut, you know?
Do you know who could be like in this? Because the way we're doing it is if you invented it, right? No matter how much anyone's innovated at any point, you can claim it back. Yeah. So people who would be able to really go mad is someone like Scotland. They've invented loads of shit, right?
Yeah.
TVs. They could just do that.
Did Scotland invent the TV?
Yeah. They invented toilets.
Oh dear. We're taking toilets back. Fuck. Plumbing.
Well, it's a big negotiating. It's a big negotiating tactic.
Shit. Electricity. Right.
Trains.
Planes.
Well, that's America, wouldn't it?
Yeah, whatever. Is this all Scotland? You're saying?
This is well.
Who did? Didn't we do plumbing?
No, toilets are Scotland. I think Crapper.
But just toilet
Dr. Crapper or whatever.
Are toilets and plumbing synonymous? I guess they are. Because otherwise you're just shitting in a hole and it doesn't go anywhere.
No, there's always been... Yeah, there's still the idea of plumbing. I'm sure there's people that invented, like, I don't know.
Ways to get the shit out.
Yeah, you'd shit in a big hole, but maybe that hole would...
I don't think that counts as plumbing.
No, the flushing toilet is the crapper.
The crapper. I don't think that's synonymous with plumbing.
Right. Yeah, so you can have plumbing, but you can't have a toilet with a flush. But then, yeah. And then what about...
Well, that would be a war crime.
Yeah.
I think there's still...
Potentially,
remember the
potentially
Wagner
it
group?
takes away some... Yeah, they're enforcing
the
this.
Wagner group are enforcing all of this, and they'll be like, you can't take toilets away from people.
No, but what about like... Well, what would be interesting is then people start piping up like Greece, you know, who's been asleep for 2,000 years. They could take away theatre. They could take away comedy. All concepts of comedy.
It's
right?
true.
You know, Egypt could take away writing, or like you could go back to who invented the wheel? I don't know who invented the wheel.
Feels like it was us.
No, we didn't invent the wheel.
I think we invented the
The
wheel.
wheel was invented like 3,000 years before we fucking got rolled out of a mud hut.
That's true.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. So who on LBC? What were the people on LBC saying? What was the?
That was it, really.
How did they define it?
The specific caller I'm talking about didn't want to get into an argument with O'Brien.
But I also want to say, because it is an interesting question, because it's always like, it's really hard to answer, and then you think, oh, did we not stand for anything? Even though it's just when you're abroad, you do feel there's a distinctiveness for sure. If you asked a Spanish person, what does being Spanish mean? Would they be able to answer it? Because everything you choose sounds silly.
An Italian would.
Well, because it's pasta and pizza and...
Hey!
No, what are they going to say? Papada?
Yeah, it's good. It's good food. It's you know... Well, it's obviously different to different regions, but it's good food. A lot of it can be, you know, nice, family, living.
Family, yeah.
It's family, it's patriarchy and matriarchy. There's a lot of the matriarchy going on there as well. It's good food in a lovely setting. It's enjoyment of life.
Right.
But if you go to like Milan, it's very much work.
Right.
So it is different, but... I think the majority of Italy is a bit like, put your feet up, have some tomatoes, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
See your family. I think Italians are quite a lot about life's about the minutiae rather than trying to attain things that are above you.
And what was James saying during this whole conversation?
I did just watch a clip of this, I'm afraid. I wasn't listening to the full conversation.
Are you LBCing?
Yeah, every now and again.
What's your work list at the moment?
LBC.
Right.
It varies.
Does it get you fired up?
It gets me.
Because it's all about firing up, right?
It depends on the topic. Sometimes the topics are incredibly underwhelming. I think they try and balance it so, you know, you get some hard-hitting politics with some more mundane fun questions, and the mundane fun questions are relatively silly.
Do you like the silly ones?
I don't actually.
You don't like the light with the shade?
I haven't tuned in to Nick Ferrari at 8 a.m. to hear them debate about the fabric of socks.
It's not what we're here for,
It's not what we're here for. I want some cutting edge interviews, some political analysis, and some arguments. I don't want cutesy stuff about, he was talking about Morris dancing actually. And I said, I don't want to hear your thoughts on Morris dancing.
And this is, you know, as someone who's trying to find a good British identity, I'm sorry, Morris dancing does fucking suck.
Of course it sucks. But the problem is the ones that we're left with, like Morris dancing and the maypole, it was like, there's a reason they haven't gone global. It's because Britain's had basically like anything that we've done that's good has had the chance to go global.
Right.
So the world has picked the good shit and we're left with the wank. We're left with Morris dancing. We're left with the maypole.
But then pizza and pasta have gone global, but they still feel distinctively Italian. Do you know what I mean?
No, but they're good.
Right. Yeah, I know. But it doesn't mean that it hasn't taken away from the Italian. Because I guess you go there to enjoy the pizza and pasta.
Yeah, you don't need to come to England to enjoy Dua Lipa because of international tours. Which is, I suppose, in this conversation we're having, a travesty. What has the world come to? We need to stop international music tours. Cinema, we've got Nolan. We've got some blockbuster stuff.
Wait. So you're allowed to take the directors back?
Yeah.
Right.
It would be a bit of a waste.
Because the French could take cinema. They invented cinema.
They could take cinema back, yeah.
Even though it's disputed because he might have been an Englishman, Muybridge. What he did, he got a horse to run, and he had loads of tripwires that took photos of it while it's running.
Yeah.
And then he displayed it all as this one thing.
Yeah.
But if he'd put it in a roll and put it through and put some lights through it, he would have invented cinema. But he didn't. So he just made a GIF.
But then I guess the rest of cinema history would have had to happen via tripwires, which you'd have the actors running across the stage, setting off various tripwires.
That's quite interesting to do a scene.
And if no one comes up with a better solution.
So you got 20 cameras.
Yeah.
Every scene is just
running around on a tripwire. Oh dear. It's a challenge for blocking, I'll tell you that much.
What else is going on in the world today?
I was sat on the balcony thinking about my funeral. I was sat contemplating death on my balcony, and
because you got a good balcony for the summer, it's a nice one.
Yeah,
A good you're really.
It's a contemplative balcony,
right?
For sure.
So because there's a lot going on as well in your neighbourhood.
It's getting weirder.
Yeah, I went to write at Andrews for a prolonged period of time, so I was there for like 3-4 days in a row, and yeah, it is. There's an oddness.
It's an oddness.
Everything you said is sort of true. There's so. It's just you don't quite know what anyone's doing at any point, but there's a lot going on.
Well, I hate to bring it back to ham and cheese, but remember the lady who was. I walked out to go to Tesco, which my Tesco was the worst Tesco in the world.
Yeah.
And there's no place like home. Is the opposite of that feeling.
Everywhere's like home.
Yeah, I suppose. When you really think about it, it doesn't quite add up.
What does that mean?
There's no place at the end of the Wizard of Oz. There's no place like home, and it goes ooh, and then you just that feels comfy and homey to me. Whereas what the opposite of that is, there's every place like my local Tesco.
Right.
Every place is every place is better than my local Tesco.
Right.
It's abhorrent and I hate it, and I have to go in there every day.
Yeah.
But so on my way there, the day before Horatio came over, there was just a lady sat in the.
It is the worst Tesco's in the country.
She was sat on the curb just eating a meal deal at 4 p.m.
Yeah.
Now there's many things wrong with that statement. She was too old to be sat on the floor eating a meal deal.
Yeah.
4 p.m.
Yeah.
What's going on in your life? You're firmly between lunch and dinner there. You're either spoiling your dinner or you've had lunch far too late.
Yeah.
What's going on there? And then so the next day when Horatio came over, I was telling him about it, and then bosh, there was a different person sat at 4 p.m. eating a meal deal on the curb.
Maybe mid-20s ginger guy.
What's he doing?
He was sat on quite a low curb, so it's not like it's almost squatting.
He was squatting.
Not even facing the road. It was like it was just sort of facing nowhere. Yep. He had a 2-litre bottle of Coke and a meal deal. And he was just working his way through it. So
did he buy the Coke separately from the meal deal? He had
and then we went to the shop, right? We were there for 5 minutes, came back, gone. So what happened there? Was it that he's
cramming it down, but where does he need to be?
Where does he need to be? It was again. It was like 4:30, 5.
You're forgetting on the way to the shop.
Yeah,
we were then walking down the road, and this lady goes, "Ew, can I get in the middle of you two?"
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And then she
wasn't even an old woman.
She was like 30-year-old lady who didn't. She looked a bit raw.
Yeah, she looked like hippie. She was a hippie.
She looked a bit spacey, but then she said,
I very nearly said, "Get a job, you hippie."
You did. And I slapped your mouth. I knew what you were going to say. No, she came up. Horatio and I were walking down. She goes, can I get in the middle of you? And we just went like the pathetic men we are. Yeah, sure you can.
What would a non-pathetic man say?
Get out of my sight, you hussy. You'll have to pay for that privilege.
Yeah. I guess it would have been. It's not good, but a backhand would have been funny.
Bosh! We got shit to do, love.
No, okay. I think what may be fair is if you say something that weird, you're allowed to be slapped with a leather glove.
Yeah, okay.
That's kind of a bit
Isn't
more...
that like a challenge to a duel, though?
Yeah, it's a bit camper, I guess.
Yeah,
because it's
away.
less...
Away. It's like swatting a fly away. Be gone. Be gone, foul
There
lady.
is something... Yeah.
What do you mean? Why do you want to get in the middle of us?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. She didn't appear like she was on something.
Yeah.
But she was, can I go in the middle? And then she just, Horatio and I obliged and just moved further away from each other. And then she just kind of skipped through the middle of us.
Yeah.
And then just kind of...
She parted us like the Red Sea.
Then went on.
Yeah.
Then went on. Then we went to buy an ice cream.
Yeah, but
back.
there was an old lady who looked at us as being like, "What? That was weird as well." Remember afterwards,
Yeah.
she was like, basically like, "It's getting fucking
It's
weird."
getting weird. There's a few people.
There's
a few people there who I look and I'm like, we have a look. Like something's going on. I don't know what it is.
Oh, so you got people who you can...
There's a few. There's a resistance.
A couple of gyms in the office, basically.
Yeah, a knowing look to the camera. And that is, a lot of the time, that's just saying excuse me and thank you when you move past a fucking aisle in that Tesco's. Good Christ alive. Anyway, so on that balcony, I was thinking about my death and funeral.
Yeah.
I was thinking, what would my funeral be like? Everyone would be sad, obviously. It would be quite... Obviously, everyone wants to see their funeral.
What funeral is this? Is this now? Is this normal now?
Now. If I died now.
Right, well, yeah.
Yeah, it would be a tragedy.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking about that.
But yeah, young funeral, that's completely different.
Yeah, exactly. You can be a bit of a bell end and that's
it's like still people...
Like the fucking turnout's going to be great. Because all of your friends are alive and it's just a tragedy is what it is.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking, where do I want to be, do I want to be buried? Do I want to be cremated? I still don't really know the answer to that.
Is it cremated? Because cremated sounds too similar to cream egg.
Yeah, or
do you know what I mean?
It sounds like churning milk.
Do you know,
and then eventually making cream.
Sounds like
it sounds like you're being turned into cream. And how would you like your body to be disposed, Mr. Kelvin? Can I be creamed? Can I be turned into cream and then spread on a sandwich? A cream sandwich.
Would you want, because I talked about this in my other podcast about I'd love to be embalmed. Have I talked to you about this?
Probably.
Yeah, embalming is what I'd love to be embalmed.
No, you wouldn't.
No,
you wouldn't.
Forever in a mausoleum.
No, you wouldn't.
I don't.
No, you
I'd like to be in a mausoleum.
That's a disgusting way to do it.
What?
I think that's fucking stupid.
I'm injected with oil, so I'm just frozen like this.
I couldn't think of anything worse.
In a glass box.
For people to come and gawp at. Yeah. Can't think of anything worse.
You don't want to be cremated?
Cremated?
No, sorry, you don't want to be embalmed?
No, I don't want to be embalmed. I don't want to be fucking... And then for people to just come and walk around and look at me. Here lies Andrew Cowan. For fucking eternity. That sounds like the worst idea in the world. I mean, we could be embalmed and put in these chairs.
That's quite funny.
The boys got embalmed here if we died today.
Are we... yeah, so I guess we sit on the chairs and then whoever moves in here.
Yeah, tough.
When they're clearing out the shed, they'll be like, oh, it's like a taxidermy.
No, we can make it...
It's basically taxidermy.
Yeah, we can make it like a little museum.
Right.
So people can come and pay their respects.
Oh, right.
Or at least we get embalmed in the studio. For the Boys Gone Wild lore.
Right.
It'll be a fun fact.
Yeah.
It'll be like, did you know they're embalmed in their studio? You can go and see them as they were back in the day. No, I would hate to be fucking embalmed. I can't think of a worse thing than to like.
Right. So
finally, the beautiful, peaceful relent
the release
of death. And then people are still gawping at me, going, "Oh, look at that! His nose is a bit weird, isn't it? What's wrong with his face?"
Yeah, but you are dead, so you have to remember because you're not like this. Oh, that's a bit fucking rude.
That's a bit weird. Hey,
you're dead.
No photos.
You're dead.
You're dead. You're dead, Mr. Cohen. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, but there's a thing to it, and I think that's why a lot of the time, because at the end of the day, who gives an effing...
At the end of your life.
Whoa!
Yeah.
He's done it.
At the end of the ultimate day.
The day that is the lives of our pastors and our fathers and our sons. Yes, thank you. But I would... So at the end of the day, life, people don't fucking, it doesn't make a difference to us. It's about your legacy, right?
Right.
But people will choose cremation over burial based on, the general ideas. People will be scared to be underground for a bit or something. Or they like the idea of their ashes being spread.
I guess a part of that is like, what if I'm not dead? Or no, it's basically...
We've all had that thought.
It's the actually it's more the kind of superstitions of our concept of dead. What if there's an afterlife? What if... You know how like Viking burials, you get buried with all your armour and all your earthly possessions?
Then,
so
I'm sorted.
When you're... Yeah, so that when you get a packed lunch.
Yeah. Send me off with a ham and cheese.
Yeah, exactly. Because the fear, even though you don't think it rationally, what if you land there and it's like, well, I've got nothing.
Well, that's why cremation.
Or like you're just a fucking pile of ash. You're like,
Yeah, but what happens?
Sake.
Look, what happens if our bodies die but our minds never die?
And then you can't do anything because you have no body to...
Yeah. So in that, but you're still trapped inside. Your mind
Right.
is still... It's a possibility.
That's what... Because it's just like, why would you even risk fucking...
being stuck in a coffin for eternity. Fucking fry me up. Fry me up. Fuck that. I thought about it. So
We want to get fried up.
I want to get fried up. I think there's also something a bit more majestic about the scattering of the ashes.
Right.
So I did think, I was thinking, if I was to get buried, where would I get buried? Because I wouldn't want to get buried in Haywards Heath, really. Nor would I really feel right to get buried in London. Maybe Essex. I've moved around too much. So I haven't really had a home for more than 5 years. So I was thinking, where would I want to get buried? And my answer was, I guess nowhere. I'll have to be fried up. And then I was like, but where would you want...
Where would you want to be fried up, though?
What?
Where would you want to be fried up?
Oh, that's irrelevant.
Is it?
Yeah, that's not my final resting place.
Dagenham.
Sure.
Getting fried up
You can
in
fry
Dagenham.
me up at Dagenham.
Right.
And if I die in
there
the
probably are
next...
some cremation places in Dagenham. Yeah.
Why wouldn't there be?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
If
guess
I
it doesn't
die in the
matter.
next week...
I guess I just wouldn't want to, when I'm getting fried up, I just wouldn't want just like, I don't know, some trade you just go, you know.
Well, why is that worse than Dagenham? It's always going to be some guy who doesn't care about you. How many? Yeah, you know.
I just maybe
don't want my
I
frown.
want a bit of a ritual to it. Someone in robes.
Well, no, there it's. No, there isn't a ritual. Have you not been to a cremation?
No.
There's.
Oh, do you get to see them
No.
getting fried up?
You go to. What
I mean,
happened?
when they're chefed up in the wood, but the wood.
It's like a pizza oven. They put me in a big board. Oh, it's nearly done. Just 5 more minutes. No, it's you have a thing in the church. I think I'm not sure this is true for all cremations, but you have a thing in the church if it's a Christian thing, and then you go to the cremation place, and there's like a smaller little ceremony, and then I don't think you can see it happen. It's not fucking naked in there. It's you've got like a fucking wooden thing,
right?
And then it goes in, and that's it.
It's
like because a big part about funerals is for the closure aspect. You want to see the body go in the ground so that you know it's true.
Make sure they're
Make sure she's fucking, because if she comes out of that fucking coffin, and you go back in straight away. That was me at my nan's funeral. A lovely woman. So, part of it is the closure. It's she's in the ground now. There's no way. Because it's about, it's very hard for human minds to wrap themselves around the impermanence of death.
Sure.
So, chuck him in the fryer, bury him in the ground.
Okay.
So
I would say that the fryer should have a bit more ritual to it.
There is ritual to it. But it is less than burial.
Right. Okay.
But at the end of the day, there's fucking, you've got to get down to the nitty gritty at some point. There is some of that. There can be a small service before. I'm sure there's many different ways to do a cremation.
I want someone in a big, like a hexagonal hat, and his eyes roll into the back of his head, so you see the whites of his eyes, and with it he goes, and then the fire starts coming out the machine.
You just want everyone to be pagan.
And then
I mean,
because as opposed to just fucking they chuck you down a rubbish chute, your body
as I said, there is a small service before.
You're basically just going down like the waste disposal unit.
There is a small service before. There is a small service before, and it's done tastefully, I presume.
Right.
However, so essentially I got to, I guess I'd be cremated because of that conundrum and because of the fear of your mind surviving and your body dying.
Why are you thinking of this?
Don't know.
It's a sunny day. Everyone's having a nice time.
I'm on my balcony. What happens if when we die our mind doesn't? Fuck. That would be shit, wouldn't it? So what would happen is I would get cremated, and then I was like, so where would I get my ashes spread?
Right.
And I was like, I don't think there's anywhere. I didn't give this much of a thought. But I'm not exactly. I don't know where I'd want my ashes spread. Like I haven't had a significant enough place in my life yet to go. Yeah. That's where I want my ashes spread. Yeah. So I was like, I'd probably, if I wrote my will now, I'd do a joke. It'll be funny to go out on a silly one, I think. So I was like, I'd have my ashes spread at the Surrey Keys industrial estate at the Hollywood Bowl.
Well, Andy Cohen is died, and his final joke died. Like you wouldn't want a bomb.
I wouldn't want a bomb, but I wouldn't.
No, it's a big.
If I died tomorrow and I'd actually made provisions that my friends and family had to scatter my ashes at the Surrey.
I guess you can't really read the room.
No, because you're ashes. You're a pile of ashes. You're literally a pile of ashes. But then I realised the Surrey Quays industrial estate has been shut down.
Right.
So I thought, well, there's nowhere for me.
That feels.
I can't even do my joke.
Yeah, that's a bleak.
Yeah, then I went back to work.
Everything about that is so bleak. Not only is it a sunny day, you're thinking about funeral, you've landed on the Surrey Quays industrial estate, which is already bleak.
I want a bit in the Hollywood Bowl, a bit in the Frankie and Benny's, a bit in the cinema.
Surrey Quays industrial estate, already that's like kind of disassociated late capitalist shit. And then it's getting shut down for flats where it's like even more...
For like luxury flats.
Yeah, it's being made into even more dystopian.
Yeah.
So everything about
it's bad. That's kind of all I've got to say, really.
Yeah, I think for my funeral, I think I liked what happened with the Queen's.
Fucking hell! What a surprise! What would you like for one bit about your life, Horatio? Can you think of the grandest thing that you've ever imagined? You know how the Queen got fucking sent off?
I wouldn't like everything like her.
Yeah.
I want Hugh Edwards narrating it. On it televised on Hugh Edwards, so that's
from
Sure.
jail.
Yeah, I don't need a lot of the pageantry. I like the idea of going on tour. That's what I like. I think
you are fucking ridiculous.
I want to lie in state for a bit. So
you want people travelling from Middlesbrough, wait in a queue and bow their heads at the deceased body of Horatio Gould.
I want Beckham there.
You want Holly and Phil skipping the queue.
Yeah, that stuff we can keep. That's ideal.
So you want to lie in state? Of course, Of course you fucking do.
Lenin's mausoleum. That's kind of I like that. Just like it's a permanent tourist attraction in the centre of the city. You know,
a permanent. Yeah. The thing is, he's not joking.
I mean, what else? I mean, I guess you could be lying in state, or is there a more creative way? You know, is it your one of the arms of Big Ben? Like one of the. So like, is there a phone? Well, you can be the other one.
Yeah, well, it could be the other arm. Tough to get through the requisite planning.
Like, if you're like a really hardened wax version of your corpse,
put me in Man of Two Swords. Save it. I'll say you can't.
Man of Two Swords.
Imagine if they were all embalmed.
That's an all right tourist attraction.
Now it turns into like a horror thing.
Well, it's more like you're seeing it. Yeah, I'd get starstruck.
That is actually Harry Styles.
Yeah, that's like it'd be fucking nuts.
That's his actual skin.
That would be pretty amazing.
His hair.
The Man in Two Swords, the branding where it's like feel like a rock star, and it's you and Dua Lipa. And it's actually Dua Lipa.
Yeah, that's her. That's her skin.
I guess she'd be old by the time.
She would be old.
So
most of them would be old, and it would feel tasteless to do it for the people that die young. Yeah, it would be. It would be great.
I guess like Mac Miller, you could get him.
Could get Mac Miller. You could get Mac Miller. You get Kurt Cobain. Who else was that? Amy Winehouse. I guess.
Do you know what you'd do? You'd sign up very crooked deals with management agencies.
Well, it's not going to go through the traditional routes, is it?
So yeah, it would be like you'd have really ambitious young artists. You'd give them good deals, but you'd say, look, this is one of the caveats.
If you die, you're being embalmed in this new Roger Man and Two Swords. It's for actual.
And they think I'm going to live forever. They're a young rock star, with the whole life ahead of them. They're not thinking about it.
They're not thinking about it.
They're just thinking,
well, in your mind, you'd like this. This is something that you'd be like, what a fucking deal I just got. I'm embalmed so that the country can come and visit to me.
It's not for me. It's for the country. It's so they can process it.
It's so people can process it. It's because it's too big. You've got too many adoring people to just have a funeral for. You need to lie in state so people can make the pilgrimage down. That's your issue.
Doesn't have to be down.
Up as well.
No, because I'm on tour. My body goes on tour. Did the Queen's body go on tour? Did it not? Just lied in state.
I think it's tasteless to go on tour.
I thought it went on tour.
No. Something happened.
Yeah.
Something went on tour. No, she didn't. She can't have gone on tour.
So we've just done a 4-part episodes on Gaddafi. Do you know how Gaddafi ended?
Kind of.
So what happened with Gaddafi is he tried to escape, go through like a rebel blockade, right? He'd been in power for 40 years, right? And then a NATO strike dropped. blew up all these cars in a 74 vehicle convoy. His bodyguards rush him out, try and get him off the roads, rebels firing at him. He hides in a dirty sewage pipe.
Yeah.
His bodyguards get killed, and then a mad rebel mob grab Gaddafi.
Yeah.
Get him over the hood of a car, video him. He's shat himself out of fear. And then they sodomize him with the knife for about 45 minutes.
Right.
And then they each take a turn shooting him, each sometimes with his own gun.
Yeah.
And then they drag his body with like the back of a car, right? Like through the streets. And then they go to like, I guess like a supermarket out in the desert, or like in a desert town.
Yeah.
And they just chuck him, he's rolled up in like a duvet, and they just chuck him in like a big fridge freezer. And then people would like come around and have a look.
That's how I want to go.
Because he's also technically lying in state. It's just
lying in fridge.
I mean, it's not a great state he's lying in, but it's still technically, it's a leader who's died and people are coming to look at him.
It's pretty annoying to be the proprietor of that supermarket. No one's buying anything from that.
No, it would be good for business.
Would it?
Yeah, because you got Gaddafi lying
You're not
in
charging
state.
people coming in.
No, but people are getting hungry when they're there.
I'm not buying something from those fridges. Am I?
It's out in the sticks.
You want a can of Coke, do you? Right, yeah, I'll just move his hand.
Yeah, but it's a
Where's the Fanta? It's in his bum.
It's a...
You got any dairy milk? You don't want to know. You don't want to know where that is.
Why is the Fanta in his bum?
The Fanta's in his bum.
I feel
There was nowhere else to store it.
It's a big supermarket. He's not that big a man.
How do you know about this small supermarket? Small supermarket.
It's not an offie.
It's an offie. It's an off license. They've got one fridge and everything's in it. It's a nightmare for business. What a fucking disaster for business. Can't imagine it. Poor guy. Poor guy.
Yeah, I'd charge him on the way in then.
Yeah, but you can't do that.
No, what you do...
You're not doing that, then you're a bad guy. They're going to fucking kill you.
No,
you're going to end up in the fridge.
To be classy.
You get up right next to him. You'll have a Coke up your bum. The bottle as well. What's worse? The can's worse.
Can's worse.
Can's worse.
Well, you could probably crush it with your cheeks.
A can? A full can of Coke? How strong's your bum? You Sorry, Tom. Bleep that, Charlie. But bleep it. Don't cut it. Bleep
it. Yeah, not a full one. You're right. Yeah, probably would be better to have a bottle. People put bottles up their ass for pleasure. No one puts a can up there.
No one puts a can up there. It's too girthy. Depends on the can. You could probably do one of those little Coke cans.
I think what I'd do, it's not, because I think it's very trashy to be like, to charge it like it's like a fucking show. But what I'd do is one item minimum.
Yeah, it's a bit like going to the toilet in a shop.
Yeah, if you're coming here,
I'll buy something.
Yeah, but if you've chucked Gaddafi in my shop, I need to be reimbursed.
I had an interaction. What my fucking point is this. if we're public urination should be legal until I think I probably said this, until we've got enough public toilets.
Yeah.
Because it's not fucking feasible. I'm out here needing a wee. I've just got off the train.
Yeah.
Frankly, it doesn't matter if I've just got off the train. Frankie and Benny's chocolate fudge sundae. It doesn't matter if Frankie and Benny's cookie dough. It doesn't matter if I've just got off the train. It doesn't matter what the fuck I'm doing. Your citizen who pays tax needs a fucking wee. Therefore, I should be allowed to go for a wee wherever I want. And if there isn't enough public restrooms, then it should be legal to publicly urinate.
I wonder when the golden age of public restrooms was, because there's a lot of disused public restrooms.
By
you know
beaches.
What I mean? Beaches? No, in the centre in London.
In London,
there's like places, but it's like they've been shut for like. When was this great public restroom building era?
It feels like the 60s.
Yeah, it's like post-war British socialist dream where you can all piss in the toilet.
You need a wee? No problem.
So it feels like
Whereas now it's like, you need a wee, you dirty prick. You rancid little cunt.
Fuck.
You need a wee.
Yeah, it's undignifying being out in public.
And you're doing it over there. Yeah. Well, where else am I going to fucking wee?
So you think Thatcher closed the toilets?
I think Thatcher closed the toilets. And I think we should dig her up and wee on her.
Put her in the fridge with Gaddafi.
Put her in the fridge with Gaddafi after. I don't want to ruin that supermarket man's life more than it's already been fucking ruined.
Well, he's basically making Madame Tussauds at this point.
Yeah,
he's got two fridges. They've got Gaddafi and Thatcher in it.
But at the same time, you know what? Look, this is the issue. It's the public-private issue. But I'm just
thinking about this Gaddafi Thatcher offie. right, even if you don't want to buy a Fanta out of Gaddafi's bum, merch. If whatever the offer's called, it's a very famous offer. I'd get a T-shirt from the Gaddafi
with
patch
Gaddafi trapped in the fridge as a graffiti.
Yeah, sorry. I was just
please.
I'm just thinking about merch
Please,
ideas.
you're thinking about this imaginary business idea that we need to sell merch for. No, look. The problem is you go in and you go into a privately owned establishment,
right?
And most of the time with a pub, you're fine, aren't you? You nip in, you nip out. That's
I think
all
that's, and I'm got a lot better at it, and I think they actually don't care that much anymore.
Yeah. So I'm in the piss end of nowhere. Pardon the pun. Pardon. And I go in, I see a pub and I go, there it is. I'm going to go and have a wee in there. It was a very rousing moment for everyone in the group. He's going to fucking do it. Yeah, I am. I go in and immediately know I've made a mistake.
Right.
It was a local boozer. There was no one under the age of 60 there. There was no music playing.
This feels like an opening to a novel.
It does, yeah. And there was kind of, it felt like they were smoking.
You're writing this like Robert Muchamore.
Hey, bit more than that. Much more than that. It's much more than that. So I go in and it's dusty. There's kind of smoke rising off the tables. Everyone's having ales. There's a couple of small whiskies around. By the way, it's a gorgeous day outside. It's murky.
Where is this, sorry?
I don't know. I could probably try and remember.
Vaguely?
Sydenham.
Right.
So, the piss end of nowhere.
Right.
And so I go in and I just, hands up, cards on the table.
Right.
Knob on mad. I just need a wee. Knob on mad, I just need a wee.
Hands on the table, not on my head.
Hands on the table, no, I just need a wee.
Right.
I go in, I realise this was an error immediately because like this wasn't this young fucking whippersnapper who's clearly from the fucking central London, isn't he? He's from East London.
Right.
He's not getting it.
This is a local boozer.
This is a local boozer. Anyway, I walk with some confidence and the landlady goes, "Oi! Can I help you?" And I go, "I just need a wee, please, ma'am."
Go on. And what
I said, "Oh, sorry, can I just use your toilet?" And she went, "You ever heard of the word please?" And I felt like I was 4 years old again. And
Cunty from her.
No, fair from her.
Yeah.
I felt, my tail was between my legs and I went, I'm sorry. Please, may I use your toilet? And she went, you can. And then I went in and used the toilet.
Well, I guess that probably hurt you because you're very particular about the politeness.
I'm very particular about politeness.
So you really got called up.
I got called up.
And she didn't know much about you.
She didn't know much about me.
She didn't know that you normally have a pretty good record.
I went in and I asked Elle, I was like, can you go in and tell her I'm usually really polite? Because
did you actually do that?
No. I'm not fucking nuts.
That's nuts.
Can you go and tell that old lady? He's actually usually really polite. That was just a bit of a blunder on his. He's usually really good. But no, so yeah, I mean, it went from, look, she let me use it and it was all good at the end of the day. Didn't ask me to buy anything, all good. But it really hit me that I didn't say please. And I've been thinking about it since.
I guess, yeah, if you run a boozy establishment, it's your, people coming in, young whippersnappers coming in, pissing all over the gaff.
Not fair. I mean, it was kind of, as I say, in the piss end of Sydenham. Like, no. There's not much young
people. How much is it a problem, really?
Is it, like, it's a wee?
Yeah. I guess the thing is you pay...
it's disposable. It goes.
I guess toilets can fall into disrepair quite easy. Like, often... What?
What are your toilets like? Mine are all right. How often do you need to replace your toilet? Once every month?
No, I mean a public toilet.
Well, after I'm fucking done with it. The fucking loads I'm putting into that bowl is fucking awful. Got to replace the fucker every month. How long do you replace your toilet?
Got to replace the toilet again.
What are you up to this weekend? We've got to fucking replace the toilet.
They need to make a Specsavers for toilet because you get a 2-for-1 deal. I need 2-for-1 toilet
subscriptions you can get on toilet because fucking hell, the loads I'm putting in that fucker.
You mean toilet rolls? No,
the actual toilet can't handle my loads. I'm being proud of it. Yeah, we probably go through 1 or 2 toilets a month. Shit, I'm doing. No, but like, look, yeah, sure. Toilets. I think it's less that the toilet will fall into disrepair, more the bathroom. There's more cleaning to do. No,
but like you go into a pub toilet, the seat's been kicked off.
Yeah.
They're in bad. The handles
overuse will result in.
I just wonder how much are non-paying customers using this toilet? I just don't know. If it's a lot, I can understand wanting upkeep.
I was going for a haircut 2 years ago, and I was in Shoreditch, and I did some shopping beforehand. What a normal thing to do, right? On a Saturday, I'm going to do a bit of fucking shopping because I need some clothes, and then after that, while we're there, I'll get my fucking barnet snipped. Then I don't know what's happening to me. Then. So I was needing a wee, and I was like, and it was about an hour before my haircut. And then I went into a pub. I went, "Hi mate, I'm really sorry, I've just been out for the day and I've got a haircut later. Do you mind if I just use the toilet?" And he went, "No, can't." And I went, "I can't." It was a young guy, and he was like, "No, you can't use the toilet." And I just went, "All right," and I left.
But I
imagine someone saying no. Imagine you were that guy who worked at that pub and someone said,
"Do you know what I'd do? I'd go, well, can I buy something so I can use the toilet?" And
then I know, but I didn't want to buy something.
And then they'd say yes.
And then what? All right.
And then I'd buy it.
And then throw it on it.
No, I'd just go, "No, you're right. Cheers."
What do you mean?
Well, I just need to use the toilet, you fucking cretin.
Wait, but you bought it?
Yeah, but I'll leave it on the side.
Well, if you've paid for it, he still wins.
I'm chucking money at the problem, but it's
well,
not about
you could say, yeah, I'll take it.
But do you not think he'd feel a bit bad?
This man has no feelings.
So you think if he's opened like a Coke Zero on the table, he's put it there, and you, can I just get a drink then? You paid for it, and then you just leave it there. And so then he has to empty it all out.
I think he wouldn't care.
He wouldn't care.
The man that says no, the man that sees a fellow citizen
because it just feels, it makes it feel more ridiculous that you having to buy a drink to use the toilet, doesn't it? He's pouring an entire bottle of Coke. It highlights
how ludicrous it is, especially because I'd be in and out.
Because it would also be saying, money means nothing to me. Yeah. By the way, that's also what it's saying.
But look how much it means to you. Yeah, that's the way to do it. I mean, that is actually the way to do it because I never want to buy something, and that is just out of principle. I'm like, fuck you, do I need to buy something to use the toilet? Because there's a man walking about town.
Nothing that they can, it needs to be a drink. I think a bottle of Coke
that they've got to pour out. I'll have, because it was a bar. So I'll be like,
and he's like, what, you're not going to drink your drink? No, I needed a piss, as I said earlier, and you made me buy this.
And you've just wasted that.
Yeah. And you've just lost a friend.
You just lost a pal. I thought I knew you, man. I've just met. No, good. That's true, actually.
You just lost a patron. Would be a way to do it.
Well, he was never going to have one.
Yeah.
But, it's been irking me for a while and will continue to irk me. But, there isn't a politician up there brave enough to say, let's put some money into public restrooms.
Or, okay, how much money does it take to upkeep public restrooms? We do talk a lot about sort of council policy almost. It feels like we should have a direct line to local councils around the country with pitching ideas.
It's true.
Because I feel a lot of the stuff we're dealing with...
We know who we are. We're not here for the big...
We spent the whole beginning of the episode talking about ending globalisation.
Things to take away of the world.
Sending the fucking police round to destroy
giving
toilets.
genes back to America. Yeah, that's true. We know who we are.
It's quite...
We're either macro or micro. We don't talk about national interest rates.
But what I'm saying, because we've had some great ideas, i.e. how to solve the farm issue, pay someone $100,000 a year to check if they're a farmer or not.
How to train a dragon.
how to know if a farmer's a farmer. It would be the version of it. How to train a farm inspector. Yeah.
Is this a film we're making?
I guess it's animated as well.
It is animated. How to solve a problem like Maria.
How to solve a problem like Clarkson, would it be like...
I'm not liking what you're doing with these.
Yeah. What was I saying? I had a decent idea.
Councils, go around to councils.
Right, so what is the actual financial pitfall of funding public restrooms? Like, I'd like to know is it because they take up valuable rent space that can be used for other things? Is it because of the fees of janitors and stuff like that? What if...
They're always horrible. They do stink out the city.
Right.
As well.
Well, what if... you pay each pub in central London, where this is going to happen most often, right? I feel the pubs out in the sticks, they kind of have to be sorted out between you and... Right? You pay them a small janitor's fee.
The government?
Yeah. So that you can...
It's not a popular policy.
Why not?
Because people would rather piss themselves... than spend £5 more in taxes. You know what I mean?
Is it 5 or more in taxes?
No, it's going to be more.
It's going to be more?
It's going to be more.
All of everyone who's being taxed in the country, is it going to be more? How much are we going to be paying these pubs?
People, look, we're going to...
How much does it cost you?
I fear this might have to be a pay-as-you-go enterprise because I don't want to divide the country even further. I don't want it to be
is that not dividing the people with money?
I just make sure I go before I leave the house.
Yeah, I hate those cunts.
Well, then you're not drinking enough water when you're out of the house, Mary. But what you
want like a contactless tab?
Liverpool Street Station.
Right.
No. Victoria.
Beep.
Beep. In you go.
Yeah, I guess, do you know what? I actually don't mind paying for public toilets.
Neither do I.
The problem is they're always there used to always be change. And I never had the change.
Exactly.
And it's like, it's not about the money.
So Victoria doesn't do it anymore.
I got plenty of cash.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have cash.
Yeah, take it. No. Victoria used to do it. They don't do it anymore. But no, Brighton has it as well, where it's a change thing.
If it's that, fine.
No, if it's money, yes. If it's change, no.
Yeah, if
no one has money anymore.
Yeah.
No one has money.
No one has the exact change.
No.
And I'm scared of using one of those fucking machines where you're like, you're trying to break up the change, you're trying to find the exact right.
What?
I'm scared of using the ones where you put in the coins in because I just they often don't work.
Yeah. You
have to the right ones.
You
need,
£2 coins don't work. You need a tube system. You need a tube tap in and tap out. Tap in, tap out. And then however long you were in, you get charged per second.
So it's like a line bike.
It's like a line bike. Did you do a 1 or a 2? You will be charged extra for a 2.
It'd be interesting to see how that affected your behaviour in the toilet. Like, are you saying there's a flat fee and then every extra minute you get charged, or is it an entire time run? Because you could do it.
That's one option.
Because you could probably do a piss. You could probably get in and out in maybe 20 seconds if you're really fast.
Yeah. Well, right. There's lots of options. Well, the other option is, or it's just you get charged for a piss, you get charged for a shit.
How do they know what you're doing?
Well, that. Again, it depends how quick a pooer you are, but it could be done just via time for the tap in and tap out.
Yeah.
Because, no one's going to be in there for... If we're talking over 4 minutes, you're clearly doing a shit.
But it'd be funny to have shit and piss queues. Do you know what I mean? Like, how humiliating would that be?
And they've got to pay a
just
fine.
Any of the kind of like... any of the discretion of being like, I'm just going to pop to the loo. I would say, I'll just pop to the loo, and then you go straight for the shit.
Well, do you remember that fucking pub?
It's got the poo emoji above it.
Do you remember that pub?
Yeah.
Number 1 and number 2. Absolutely rancid. Shut it down. Couldn't feel more embarrassed in my life. It was absolutely obscene. Waiting outside the number 2 toilet.
And also, imagine if it's like, then you do mixed gender, right? It's mixed gender piss and shit.
Yeah.
But in a train toilet.
Let's not divide ourselves across gender lines. Let's divide ourselves into who needs to share and who needs to piss.
We're
just human dumpers, aren't we?
You run into a woman you kind of know.
Yeah. Going for a poo, are you? Me too. That's why we're in this queue, isn't it? How much is it for a poo here? £5. Fucking hell. Country's gone to the dogs.
Also, if you couldn't afford a shit and you had to go to the piss queue.
Well, that's not how toilets work. That's not how defecation works.
You need a piss as well, but
Most of the time.
not made. No, you need a piss as well in this case.
It doesn't solve the problem.
No, but it doesn't solve the problem. No, but you're not fucking made of money.
I
love. Oh, hoity-toity.
You're not saying anything. I'm in the shit queue. I really need a shit. Right?
Oh, hoity-toity.
Look at this boy. It doesn't work. That's not how fucking human bodies work. You don't go, I need a shit, I'll stand in the shit queue. Oh, it's £5. I guess I'll have a piss instead. I don't need a shit anymore. Child, you want to squeeze a shit out your knob, are you? Fucking hell. Now, goodbye. Subscribe to the Patreon. We'll see you next week.